I started off as a real estate agent about 7 years ago, and it's kind of evolved into, I still have my real estate company, but it's evolved to 7 other LLCs. And yeah, now I coach entrepreneurs and just help them a lot of what the mental programming, right? A lot of people feel like they can't reach a certain destination, or they have dreams, right? That's why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
And those dreams and that mental programming can help them get to that next level. And so that's what I help entrepreneurs, even those that are not entrepreneurs, but aspiring entrepreneurs, help them get to that point as well.
For sure. So my specialty is people bring me their, nocturnal dreams, these involuntary visions that they have in their own mind, examining their own life and their own problems. And then in a way, I'm a dream coach. I walk them through the process of trying to see what they were trying to show themselves more clearly. So I understand that kind of opening the way. But for other folks that help people in more practical application of stuff in waking life, I'm always fascinated by the process, and a lot of people have similarities, but I don't know if you have a formula or approach you use that seems to have dialed in your process better. I don't know what you would say about that.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, if you ask someone what they want, they'll go straight to telling you what they don't want, right? Well, I don't want this. And it's like, well, no, you need to be very specific with what you want. And then as far as the dream aspect goes, like, we encourage them to do a meditation to envision their future self, right? For those that are interested in like the actual theory, it's called quantum leap jumping, where you're essentially getting very, very deep in a meditative state and jumping forward in time to meet yourself.
Nice.
Really cool. Very, very deep meditative practice, but some of the greatest ideas and concepts happen when you are focusing on who you want to become, as opposed to the things you're running away from.
For sure. And I love the reference to the show. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid. Dr. Samuel Beckett theorizing that he could travel in time within his own lifetime. Then he becomes all kinds of different people. And that is what we do in our imagination. We test out, what if I became someone different? That's kind of, I don't know if you're a fan of Jordan Peterson at all, but he's very famous for saying a lot of things. But one of his conceptions is that our ability to imagine from an evolutionary perspective is like, let's use the power of what if and the ability to think into the future to say, well, what do I think is going to happen if I try this particular path? Hey, that didn't work out so well. So we let the dream, the imagination, the idea of ourself die and try a different path in our head. All of this without ever having to risk our actual physical lives.
Right.
So the idea of the guided meditation thing, or at least focused meditation, is fascinating.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned Jordan Peterson. I definitely have got some of his concepts in my training programs. I help with entrepreneurs, but a lot of it, like you said, it's just focusing on who you want to become and then going towards that, starting to make the decision. And oftentimes we see people say, what if in the negative, like, what if this happens? It's like, well, no, what if this happens, right? And the positive, like, what could change if you just took that courage and that leap of faith, in essence? So really cool. And yeah, it's interesting because they correlate really well. And I was excited to be on this show because oftentimes when you're doing a lot of meditations, your unconscious mind starts to like gravitate and teach you things and open things up. And it usually opens up when you're sleeping, because that's when it's the most subtle. There's melatonin, and it's in I believe a theta brain state, right? Very high level brain state and thinking. So super cool.
For sure. And this overlaps very interesting with, say, some of Freud's earlier theories and how he applied and his successors applied psychoanalytic counseling. Sometimes he would have patients that would come to him and would say, well, Dr. Freud, I don't have a dream to share with you. And he says, we're going to make one up. So you just let yourself go into that kind of meditative state and you tell yourself a fantasy story, whatever it is. And then you can analyze that, and it helps open up, how do I look at these problems? What do I think about myself in relation to them? So even just imagining a fantasy voluntarily, in a sense, with a kind of free association element to it, tremendously beneficial. So, what you're doing is validated by over 100 years of psychology as well.